Raised by wolves with canine DNA in his blood, having trained more than 24,000 pets, helping you and your fur babies thrive. Live in studio with Will Bangura, answering your pet behavior and training questions. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host and favorite pet behavior expert, Will Bangura.
Would you like to go on? Keith?
Y'all ready for this?
Good day, dog lovers. I'm Will Bangura. Hey, thanks for joining me for another episode of Dog Training Today. I want to continue along the lines that I have been speaking about recently, and that's the science and the ethics of dog training. Why punishment or correction-based methods and aversive tools need to be rejected in favor of positive reinforcement. In the world of dog training, we have witnessed significant advances over the past few decades. However, despite the rise of modern, humane, and science-backed methods, there are still many trainers, because of the industry's lack of oversight, lack of regulation, lack of requirement for any type of formal education, lack of requirement for certification or licensure. We have seen to this day trainers using punishment and continuing to use punishment. Not only do many trainers do that, but many pet parents still rely on punishment-based techniques and aversive tools like shock collars, prong collars, choke chains, and other kinds of physical corrections. Now, while these methods may sometimes yield short-term results, the overwhelming body of scientific research shows that they are not only ineffective, but that they're also harmful in the long term. So this podcast is really aimed at combining scientific evidence and expert consensus to argue why corrections, why punishment, and aversive tools need to finally be abandoned in dog training. In addition, this podcast is here to advocate on behalf of positive reinforcement, a method that has been proven to foster lasting behavior change and also enhance the well-being of our dogs. But first, let's define punishment and aversive tools in dog training. In this case, punishment refers to any action designed to decrease a behavior by applying an unpleasant stimulus. Aversive tools such as shock collars, prong collars, and choke chains are often used in conjunction with punishment to suppress unwanted behaviors. While these tools may perhaps seem effective at first glance, the truth is they rely on fear, pain, or intimidation to achieve those results. There have been many studies that have shown over and over again the harmful effects of punishment-based training. And one of the most comprehensive studies on the subject that was done in 2008 that examined the impact of aversive tools on military dogs. And the findings were, quite frankly, alarming. Dogs trained with shock collars and other aversive methods exhibited higher levels of stress and anxiety than dogs trained with positive reinforcement. The stress response induced by corrections and punishment results in heightened arousal, fear, and a lower ability to learn new tasks or to even focus in the future. In addition to that, there was another study done by Schilder and Vanderborg in 2004 on police dogs trained with electronic shock collars. And that revealed that even long after the training sessions ended, the dogs displayed signs of fear, stress, and anxiety. Now, this highlights the long-term effects that correction-based, punishment-based tools can have on a dog's psychological state, which clearly suggests that aversive training damages a dog's well-being well beyond the immediate training session. Further, research by Polsky in 2000 focused on the effects of shock collars on dogs, showing that electronic stimulation can induce aggression. When applied in already agitated states, the shocks worsened the dog's aggressive behavior by associating pain with the person, animal, or object that was the focus of the dog's attention at the time of the shock. This leads to fear-based aggression, where dogs lash out to protect themselves from perceived threats. A study by Heron et al. In 2009 similarly found that the use of physical punishment methods, corrections, in this case, beyond just using a shock collar or a prong collar, people that are yelling at their dogs, hitting their dogs, or using other aversive tools resulted in an increase in aggressive behaviors toward both humans and other dogs. Now, these findings underscore that punishment not only fails to address the root cause of aggression, but can actively make it worse by exacerbating fear and stress. Another study in 2014 by Casey et al. Examined the psychological impact of aversive training methods on the bond between dogs and their pet parents. The findings showed that punishment creates a loss of trust between the dog and the pet parent, leading to avoidance behaviors, increased fear, and a weakened relationship. Instead of learning how to behave appropriately, the dog learns to fear its pet parent and the training environment. One of the major criticisms of correction-based or punishment-based training is that it focuses solely on suppressing symptoms without addressing the root causes of an undesirable behavior. Dogs often act out due to fear, anxiety, stress, or frustration And correction-based methods, punishment-based methods, fail to resolve these underlying emotional states. This leads to the phenomenon which I call the pressure cooker effect, where the dog suppresses its outward behavior due to fear of being corrected, being punished, but the internal stress continues to build. Eventually, the suppressed behavior explodes in a more intense form, often resulting in more serious aggression or more serious anxiety disorders. As the study by Mathis, Schilder, and Vanderborg in 2004 demonstrated, the use of aversive training techniques led to dogs exhibiting long-term anxiety and fear. The dogs learned to fear the training environment and those that were training them rather than learning the appropriate behaviors. Now, this highlights the failure of correction-based, punishment-based methods to bring about any type of real, lasting change in the dog's behavior. Now, let's talk about what other research shows. If punishment is harmful and ineffective, what does the science say about positive reinforcement? Positive reinforcement involves rewarding desired behaviors to increase the likelihood of their reoccurrence. Research has repeatedly shown that this method not only produces more reliable and lasting results, but also fosters a stronger, more trusting relationship between the dog and their pet parents. In a study by Lindsay Wood et al. In 2008, researchers found that dogs trained with positive reinforcement learned new tasks faster and retained the behaviors longer compared to those trained with correction-based or punishment-based methods. This is because positive reinforcement rewards the dog for appropriate behavior, encouraging them to repeat the behavior without fear and without hesitation. In a study conducted by Hibby, Rooney, and Bradshaw in 2004, it examined the outcomes of dogs trained using positive reinforcement versus aversive methods. The results showed that dogs trained with positive reinforcement exhibited significantly lower levels of aggression and significantly lower levels of anxiety and stress. Not only did they respond better to commands and cues, but they also demonstrated fewer signs of anxiety and fear in stressful situations. Now, by addressing the underlying emotional drivers of aggression, whether it's fear, anxiety, or stress, positive reinforcement helps to resolve the root cause of the behavior rather than simply suppressing its outward signs. And this leads to long-lasting change and a more emotionally stable dog. There was another study in 2007 that found that dogs trained with positive reinforcement formed stronger bonds with their pet parents. When dogs are consistently rewarded for desirable behavior, they come to view their pet parents as a source of comfort and trust. This bond is absolutely critical for long-term training success. and results in a more cooperative and more confident dog. In a 2017 review by Ziv, multiple studies were examined to determine the long-term success of various training methods. The findings clearly showed that positive reinforcement leads to more reliable, long-term behavior changes compared to correction-based or punishment-based techniques. Moreover, dogs trained with positive reinforcement were less likely to develop new behavioral problems over time, such as anxiety or aggression. There has been a global opposition to aversive tools due to the overwhelming evidence of the harm caused by punishment-based methods. Numerous countries have moved to ban or severely restrict the use of aversive tools in dog training. Germany, Austria, Sweden, and Norway were among some of the first countries to ban shock collars under their animal welfare laws, citing the tool's harmful effects on dogs' psychological well-being. Scotland banned the use of shock collars in 2018, recognizing the cruelty involved in their use and the availability of more humane alternatives. Canada, similarly, many provinces in Canada have outlawed and made illegal the use of shock collars, prong collars, and choke chains. Most westernized, industrialized nations have banned these aversive tools for good reason. This shift towards banning aversive methods reflects a global recognition that positive, reward-based training is not only kinder, but also more effective in shaping the dog's behavior. Now, in addition to the scientific research, a growing number of prestigious organizations have spoken out against the use of punishment and aversive tools. These organizations advocate for positive reinforcement and humane, science-based methods. Some of these organizations are the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior, the American Veterinary Medical Association, the American College of Veterinary Behaviorists, International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants, the British Veterinary Association, the European Society of Veterinary Clinical Ethology, the Canadian Veterinary Medical Association, the New Zealand Veterinary Association, all have put out position statements against the use of punishment, against the use of aversive tools like prong collars, shock collars, and choke chains. In addition to the many veterinary behavior organizations, many animal welfare and advocacy organizations have followed suit. The American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, the ASPCA, the Humane Society of the United States, the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, the Pet Professional Guild, the Humane Society International, all as well have spoken out against the use of aversive tools, punishment, and correction-based methods, advocating instead for positive reinforcement, humane, science-based, evidence-based methods. Along with these organizations, there are many dog training schools and certification organizations such as the Certification Council for Professional Dog Trainers, the Association for Professional Dog Trainers International, International Canine Behaviorist, the Karen Pryor Academy. These are just some organizations, along with many others, that have condemned the use of punishment and endorsed positive reinforcement as the only ethical and effective approach to dog training. The science, the experts, and the evidence all point in one direction. Punishment-based training methods have no place in modern dog training. They're harmful, ineffective, and cause long-term damage to the dog's mental and emotional health. Positive reinforcement, on the other hand, is proven to be more effective, humane, and beneficial for both the dog and the pet parent. If you're considering training your dog, the evidence is clear. Choose a trainer, a behavior consultant, or a behaviorist who uses reward-based methods, avoids punishment, and understands that lasting behavior change comes from addressing the root causes of behavior, not suppressing them. The future of dog training is positive, both for our dogs and the relationships that we build with them. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking just a few minutes to listen to this podcast. I hope you got a lot out of it. Please visit our podcast, Dog Training Today. We've got over 163 great episodes up there, some long, some short. I'm Will Bangura. Have a great day. I'm out of here.